Hello again, this is DVP reporting with my 10th game scored for 1985. Today is Sunday, May the 19th, and today's game will feature the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates in the final of a 3-game series at Three Rivers Stadium. This will be game number 5 on an 8-game road trip for Pete Rose's Reds. After this ball game, it's off to Chicago as the Reds will play the Cubs for the first time this season, a 3-game series starting tomorrow afternoon at Wrigley Field. And to this point, it's been a very successful road swing against these Eastern Division ball clubs for Cincinnati. The Reds have taken the first 4 to assure them of no worse than a .500 record on the 8-game road trip. I'll take the Reds into 3 cities, Montreal and now Pittsburgh, and then Chicago to wrap it up before an off-day Thursday, and then back home against the Cardinals for a weekend set starting next Friday night. The Reds swept the Expos 2 straight, and now have taken the first 2 games of this series at Pittsburgh, and they'll hope to get out the broom and sweep the Pirates to make it a 5-0 road trip, and win today would assure them of a winning road excursion. The Reds already have the best road record in the National League, coming in today at 11-8, and a 6-game road winning streak. So at one point that was a 5-8 road record, and they've boosted that to 11-8 now, whereas they're only 8-8 through 16 games at Riverfront, including 3 losses in the last 5-game homestand. My last game scored was on May the 16th, and that was a Reds win over the Montreal Expos. That enabled the Reds to sweep that series, a 4-2 final score. And so I've got 2 games here in my Reds recap section, and both wins, as I mentioned, wins over the Pittsburgh Pirates on Friday night and Saturday evening, a 7:35 and a 7:05 start time, respectively, on Friday and Saturday. The Reds' first time into Pittsburgh and first games against the Pirates this season, and Dave Parker, the former Pirate, has played a big part in the Reds winning these last 2 games, as he has homered in each game. He's now homered in 3 consecutive games. The first Red to do that since Eric Davis last season when he homered in 4 in a row. Had 5 homers in 4 games, something like that. And that's the first time Parker's done that as a Red. He's way ahead of pace as he has 7 homers this season, 28 RBIs. He didn't get his 7th homer last year until early July at Shea Stadium, just before the All-Star game. So he's well on his way to a 25 to 30 homer season and well over 100 RBI pace at this point, because last year he led the team with 16 home runs, and he only had 1 at this time last year. He started hitting them in bunches later in the season, especially at home, and now has got 3 in as many days. Well, I've got a 6-3 Reds win to recap from Friday night, May the 17th, as the Reds made it 3 in a row on the road trip. And it was that was 4 consecutive wins. Wait a minute. No, 3 straight victories. All on the road trip. I'm thinking back to the last homestand. The Reds did lose their last home game, 7-1 to Philadelphia. So they come into this game with a 4-game winning streak overall and a 6-game road winning streak going back to the road trip before this one. John Stuper and Ted Power, along with Johnny Franco, did some fine pitching on Friday night. Jose De Leon was on the losing end for the 6th consecutive time. And Dave Parker and Alan Nicely took care of most of the hitting. Those 2 guys batting 3 and 4 of the order. Nicely hitting cleanup, making his first appearance as a Red in '85 after being summoned just 3 days earlier from Class AAA Denver. He went 2 for 5, knocked in 2, scored as many. Had a big 2-run double in that game. And we also had a 2 RBI performance by David Parker, who was 3 for 5. He also had 3 hits the next day, so 6 hits against his former club in the first 2 games of this series. John Stuper wins it. He ties Mario Soto, who will be going today in the series wrap-up, for club lead in wins as he goes to 5-2. He allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, and 6 2/3. He walked 4 and struck out a couple. Then John Franco for 2/3. Then Ted Power for 1 2/3. And he didn't give up anything. 1 strikeout as he registers his 7th save, his 3rd in a row, and his 4th in his last 5 appearances. He's doing the job out of the bullpen. He got his ERA down to under 2. He's in the 1.9 range right now for 13 appearances. He's been outstanding this season. So Stuper gets his 5th win. Power up among league leaders with 7 saves. Jose De Leon, well, I tell you, he's been struggling, although leading the league in strikeouts incredibly. He's yet to win a game. He's 0-6, as he went 6 innings, really didn't do badly. Allowed 5 hits, but his control, well, wreaked havoc with him. 6 walks, although I don't think any of them scored. 4 runs, 3 earned. He struck out 8 batters. And that gives him, I think, well over 60 now for the year. Rod Scurry relieved. He allowed 2 hits and 2 runs. Then Cecilio Guante for 2/3, and then Al Holland for 2. He mopped up, and he walked a batter, struck out 1. That game took 2 hours and 53 minutes to play. It was a long evening at Pittsburgh because before the game even started, there was a 2-hour and 15-minute rain delay. Looked like they might not get that one in, but they did. It's the second real long rain delay the Reds have suffered through this month. Back on May 1st at home against Atlanta, there was a 2-hour, 41-minute delay. And that's the third time in the last 5 games the Reds have had a rain delay in one of their contests. And that extends through Friday because they had rain delays in both games against the Phillies at home. So 3 out of the last 5 up through Friday had delays. One of them of 25 minutes, one of 13 at the beginning of that game on Tuesday, and now a 2:15 delay at the beginning of the May 17th contest. The ball game did not start until 9:50 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Was not over until about 3 hours later. So it was well past midnight that ball game was over. 2:53 for the game time. 7,239 witnessed the game. That's the paid attendance. Total in the house, 10,263. And by the end of the day, I guess about 105 left over, maybe. 6 runs, 8 hits, and an error for the Reds. 10 left on. The Pirates had 3 runs, 7 hits, 2 errors, and 5 stranded. John Stuper gets the game-winning RBI in addition to pitching his club to the victory. Gets his 5th win, his first game winner. Probably his first major league game-winning RBI. He's not really that good of a hitter. At the plate, though, he was 0 for 3, but had a bases-loaded walk in the top of the 4th inning. The Reds never trailed. That was a run that put us ahead to stay. Then we got 3 more in the 5th, 2 more in the 7th. The Pirates got 1 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th. Those are the last runs they've scored in the series because they were shut out by Tom Browning yesterday by an 8-0 count. So Stuper, a game winner. And in addition, we had RBIs by Alan Nicely, who had his first 2 as a Red this season. He was batting .446 at Class AAA Denver, already with 29 RBIs and 6 or 7 home runs. Dave Parker gets 2 more ribbies. He's got 27 as he blasted a home run, his 6th of the season. Oh, it's one of his 3 hits. It's the 20th Reds homer this year. Nicky Saski gets his 20th RBI with a sacrifice fly late in the game. So another good day for the Cincinnati Reds as they open up things at Pittsburgh with a 6-3 win on Friday night. Long day at the ballpark. You can put the rain delay and the game time together as well over 5 hours at the stadium on Friday. Not a whole lot of people came out to see him. Of course, Pittsburgh probably is not long for that city, I guess. I mean, the Pirates. It's like they're going to be leaving the Steel City. I would not be surprised in the near future. So many other cities around the United States are begging for franchises, such as Denver and Tampa and Jacksonville and Indianapolis, etc., along with Buffalo and other cities. And it looks like the Pirates, with the way they're playing baseball right now, they're not drawing very many people, and they don't draw very well to begin with. Of course, they're really a football town with the Steelers, and you wonder just how long the Pirates will be in Pittsburgh. Probably the rest of this year, but maybe not in '86. And the Reds aren't doing anything to help the Pirates' attendance in this series, scoring 6-3 and 8-0 victories. So the Pirates have only scored 3 times in the 18 innings. Let's go to last night's game, Saturday evening, May the 18th, 8-0 the final score. What a beauty, pitched by lefty Tom Browning, the 25-year-old young left-hander out of Wyoming. Picked up his 4th victory of the season as he goes all the way for the 2nd time this year. He was involved in an earlier shutout, a 1-0 final back in April against the Giants at home when Eric Davis scored on the balk by Atlee Hammaker. Browning was on the receiving end and got that win, and Power came on to save it. So that's the 2nd shutout Browning's been involved in. The Reds are now 3-2 in shutout games this year. This one is a complete game whitewashing, the first one of those this season, as Tom Browning gets his first major league shutout. A 5-hitter with 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Boy, he's been very consistent as far as those latter 2 categories, walks and Ks. I've looked back in his records. Each of his last 3 games, he's walked exactly 2 and has struck out exactly 5. So that's pretty consistent. And a 5-hit shutout yesterday. Alan Nicely gets the game winner. It's his first game-winning RBI of the year as he knocks in 2 more runs. He's been hot in this series. Had a couple of 2-run singles in that one. Dave Parker, another home run. His 3rd in as many games, his 7th of the season. The home run he hit Friday was the first one he had ever hit against the Pirates. He had 9 hits, but only hit .237 against the Buccos. His former team last year did knock in 7 runs, but had no home runs. But already 2 homers and 3 RBIs against the Pirates this season. And none of his homers are cheapies. He had a couple of rockets to right field in the first 2 games. That gives the Reds 21 homers, and Parker now has hit 4 of the last 5 Reds home runs. Perez has the other one, the grand slam last Monday against the Phillies. 2 hours and 28 minutes for that game last night. The attendance was 9,708. Browning 4-2 with a complete game win. Mike Bielecki, a rookie right-hander, takes the loss. He's 1-3. He allowed 8 hits and 5 runs in 6 innings. He walked 5 and struck out 4, followed by Guante and Robinson. And they allowed 4 hits in 3 innings, along with 3 runs and 4 walks, so the relief pitching caved in. The Reds led that one with 1 in the 3rd as the game-winning run on an Alan Nicely base hit. Then 3 more biggies in the 4th, 1 more in the 6th, 1 in the 8th, and 2 in the 9th inning. As Cesar Cedeno, a late entry at first base batting 8th, came on and came up for the first time, and he rocketed one to right center for a 2-run double. That stopped a slump for Cesar. He'd been 1 for his last 21 up until that double in the 9th inning last night. Pete Rose, also a 2-base hit. Rose chipped in with a 2-for-4 day, knocked in 2 runs. Cesar Cedeno, 2 RBIs. Dave Parker, 1 with a solo home run. 28th RBI of the year for Dave. He's now just 4 behind league leader Dale Murphy, who's not had a homer or an RBI in some 17 days now. So another good day. 8-0 the final. 8 runs, 12 hits, no errors. 11 left on for Cincinnati. Pirates, no runs, 5 hits, no errors, and 5 men left on base. And we get 12 base hits in the ball game, in addition to the fine 5-hit shutout pitching by Tom Browning, star of the game last evening. His 4th win. He's just 1 behind Soto and Stuper now. This rotation has been very solid. Very, very solid so far. The 4-man rotation that Jim Cott and Pete Rose have implemented this year with Soto, Tibbs, Stuper, and Browning. They have each won no less than 3 games. Plus throw in Joe Price, who's 1-0 as a starter, plus Frank Pastore, who didn't do too badly in that 1 start that he made. So you've got a total of now 14 victories among those top 3 in Browning, Soto, and Stuper. And then you've also got Tibbs, who's 3-1 in his last 4 games. So he's coming around, too, after an 0-4 start. So not quite as long a day at the ballpark last evening, about a 2.5-hour ball game. And no rain delays. Pretty good day for weather, although it's been fairly cool up in the Pittsburgh area these last couple of days. So we got good pitching, good hitting. We've scored 14 runs on 20 hits in the series, and we'll hope to make it 3 in a row over the Pirates at Three Rivers Stadium this afternoon. That updates the last 2 days. And now, May 19th action, Reds against the Pirates.
He's in real bad shape now. I don't think you have to be concerned about the win. But knowing how badly Mario wants to get a shutout in light of the fact that he did not pick up one the entire 84 season when he was an 18-game winner. And it looked like he had it in the bag after retiring the first 2 hitters on pop-ups, Madlock and Thompson. He needs a strike here. And did not get it. Mazzilli takes ball 4. That forces in Hendrick, and it is 7-1. Soto issues his 3rd walk of the game and his 2nd here in the 9th inning. And the Pirates come with another pinch hitter now in Jim Morrison. For the first time today, the bullpen is active. Right-hander Ted Power. Morrison taking strike one. He was a starter at second base last night. He's batting .286. Couple of runs batted in. Swing and a miss, strike two. No balls and 2 strikes. And Soto will be pleased with a win, but not so pleased that he was unable to get the shutout. Nothing in 2, runners leading at every base. Pitch, just missed the outside edge. 2 infield hits and a couple of walks. Not in that order, but that's been the situations that have allowed the Pirates to get people on and score a run. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And this one belongs to the Reds. But Soto, head down, walking toward the Reds dugout. Alan Nicely goes over to congratulate him. Now Pete Rose and a couple of other members of the Reds ball club. He goes all the way and picking up his 6th win of the season. The Reds have made it 5 victories in a row as they defeat the Bucs 7-1. We'll be back in a moment. 5 consecutive wins now for Pete's ball club, and the script was pretty much the same today. That being scoring first and never really looking back. That was the case this afternoon when the Reds came up with 2 runs in the 3rd inning against right-hander Lee Tunnell. Tunnell had retired 6 in a row to begin the game, but in the 3rd, base hits by Concepcion, Foley, and Soto in consecutive order gave the Reds a 1-0 lead. 1 out later, Pete Rose drew a walk to load him up, and then Dave Parker drew a base on balls after being behind 0-2. Tunnell ultimately walked Parker to force in a run and make it a 2-0 ball game. For Dave, his 29th run batted into the season. The Reds came right back in the 4th inning. Esansky reached on a leadoff infield single, and Dave Concepcion crushed his 3rd home run of the season, and the Reds were in front by a score of 4-0. It remained that way until the 9th inning. John Candelaria on the mound for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tom Foley, a base hit to left field, his 3rd hit, by the way, and 4 times up today and filling in for the injured Ron Oster. Soto then, in a slug bunt situation, rifled a line drive down the right field line. Foley scored. Mario ended up at 3rd base, and 1 out later, Eric Davis launched a home run to left field, his 5th of the year, to give the Reds a 7-0 lead. Soto was trying to pick up his first shutout since September of 1983, and the 9th inning started off as if he were a lead pipe cinch to get it, retiring both Billy Madlock and Jason Thompson on infield pop-ups. But then George Hendrick had an infield hit to shortstop. Steve Kemp followed with a walk. Tim Foley had an infield base hit by the mound, and Lee Mazzilli, pinch hitting for Junior Ortiz, drew a base on balls to force in the Pirate run. And after that, Jimmy Morrison, pinch hitting for Candelaria, struck out to end the ball game. The Reds had 7 runs, 10 hits, and left 6. The Pirates had 1 run, 6 hits. They left 8. Soto now 6-3 on the year as he comes up with his 3rd complete game in 10 starts. Lee Tunnell lasted 5 in absorbing his 5th loss compared with no victories. The Reds will try to keep it going as they move into Wrigley Field for the first of 3 tomorrow. Jay Tibbs will get the ball from manager Pete Rose in the series opener. He's won 3 and lost 5. Scott Sanderson will do it for manager Jimmy Fry, and he's 2 wins and 1 defeat. We'll be along with the pregame shows tomorrow afternoon from Chicago on most of these same stations beginning at 3:35. Again, the final score today, a game that took 2 hours and 20 minutes to play before a crowd of 11,990. The Reds 7 and the Pirates 1.
Well, that was Marty Brenneman reporting from Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. This was a wrap-up to a 3-game series, and this closed out stop 2 on an 8-game road trip. And boy, what a road trip this has been for the Cincinnati Reds. They're now assured of at least a plus 500 record. Now, they can do no worse than 5-3 on the road trip, and hopefully they can take care of the Cubs the next 3 days. Chicago on the losing end of a shutout score today against the Atlanta Braves, a 3-0 final. Chicago will be coming off a very long road trip tomorrow. A 10-game excursion took them out west and then to Atlanta. And they won 5 and lost 5 on the 10-game trip. And the Reds now going to Chicago with a 5-game winning streak, a 5-0 road trip, and 7 consecutive road wins dating back to the road trip before this one. So the Reds are indeed very hot right now. They remain tied for 2nd place with the Houston Astros, 1 game behind the San Diego Padres. Both of those teams, the Astros and Padres, came up with victories in their respective games this afternoon, as did Cincinnati, so they remains the same. Padres in first, but just barely. The Astros one back, tied with us. And Cincinnati now has its best record after 36 games since 1981. Last year, the Reds were 19-17 after 36. This year, we go on one better at 20-16. And that is the best mark at this point in the season in 4 years. The 1981 edition of the Reds, of course, if you'll remember, went on to have the best record in baseball in the split season, winning 66 times. That edition of the Reds was 22-14 after 36 games. Now, last year, the Reds were also one back after 36 games. That was after a loss to the Chicago Cubs at Riverfront on May the 16th, a 10-4 final. That put the Reds at 19-17, but only a game back, and that's where we are right now. So similar situations there the last couple of years. But, of course, the Reds then fell like a rock after that. And Vern Rapp had the club playing pretty good through May, especially through May 30. Up until the final day of May, the Reds were doing all right. 5 games over 500 until the Braves came in for a 5-game series. We lost all of them. And amazingly, in the last 3 5-game series the Reds have played, we're 0-15. That's hard to swallow, but hopefully we won't have any rainouts in any 5-game series this year. They seem to be poison to us. But, of course, the Reds finishing at only 70-92 and some 22 games behind the Padres, and off to a little bit better start this year, 1 game ahead of last year. I think this is the first time we have surpassed last year's start because, if you'll remember, late April, early May last season, the Reds won 13 of 14, and the Reds have not quite done that good this year. We've still lost something like 10 of the last 19, but we've won 9 of the last 12, 6 of 7, and 5 in a row. So we've now surpassed last year's record, I think, for the first time, at least for the first time since the first week of the season. So things are looking good now for Pete's ball club. Pete didn't get a hit today, though, so his hit total remains the same. He has 4,128 of those things, base hits, in his lifetime. That covers 23 seasons, twice with the Reds, with the Phillies, and with the Expos. So he's just 63 away from Ty Cobb, as he had a couple of hits yesterday. I think 1 hit the day before. I know he had a hit the day before because he stretched a hitting streak. 4 straight he had hit in, but now that is history. He walked once today. He seems to walk about every time he starts, and he has now walked 21 times. That's 3rd in the league and 1st on the Reds ball club. Well, this was my 10th game, and I finally got back even to 500. Went through a bit of a losing streak earlier, but now 2 straight wins and 3 wins in the last 4. So my record is now 5-5 through 10 games. 1-0 against the Pirates. Last year against Pittsburgh, 3-1, including 2 wins and a loss at 3 Rivers. Some of my records here through 10 games. I'll update this as we have now reached the even number of 10 contests. At home, 1-3, but much better on the road, 4-2, which is really what the Reds have been doing. At home, they're only 500, 8-8. On the road, they're now 12-8, and 7 for the last 7. And, of course, that is the best road record in the National League. I say, of course, because I mentioned that earlier. 11-8 was best, so obviously 12-8 has to be best in the league. A darn good road start for Pete's gang, and we could play over 500 baseball at home in addition to playing well on the road. The Reds might sneak up there and win the West. You never know. I've got the Reds predicted 5th this season, but the way they're playing now. And the pitching's been great. Clutch hitting has been good. Heck, the pitchers have even been hitting 2 game-winning RBIs by pitchers in this series. So that helps out a little bit, too. And, of course, the way Pete can motivate the players. And got the hot days coming up. The Reds usually like to play in the warm weather. Things could be very nice. Hopefully we'll have a better July than last year and the year before. That has been our downfall, playing very terrible baseball in July, before and after the All-Star break in July, and it just has not been good. Let's hope that the things are better this July. Now let's see, on the road 4-2 against the West, 1-2, and in my records 4-3 against the East, 0-1 in 1-run games, no extra inning games scored. And in shutouts, 0-1, almost my first shutout win today, but Soto lost it in the 9th inning. I played that earlier. Bases loaded, walk to the pinch hitter. Against right-handers, 5-4, and my record against lefties is 0-1. In daytime games, 2-3, and so far in the month of May, I've now evened at 3-3. This is my 392nd game scored with the Cincinnati Reds, going back 10 years ago to July of 75. Lifetime record now is 60 over 500. Not too bad, a .577 winning percentage. Even through all the bad years of late, 226 wins, 166 losses, including the 5-5 this year. This is game 401 lifetime overall, including a total of 9 non-Reds games and the last 3 of which have been the last game of each of the last 3 World Series, 82, 83, and 84. But each of those series finales scored along with a broadcast for each one of those. And the only other 6 non-Reds games I've done are back in the years of 76 and 77, when the Reds announcers Marty and Joe went to different cities to preview the upcoming playoffs. On Reds off days, they used to go to the different cities. In one case, it was Philadelphia, because the Reds were going to play the Phillies at one time. In one case, it was in the American League with the Kansas City Royals and the New York Yankees, so I had a chance to do some other games off of the Reds radio network back in those years, so that's why there's the difference. 401 lifetime, but 392 with the Reds. Let's have a look at the umpires, which is always one of my favorite things to look at. Behind the plate was John McSherry, mammoth individual back there calling the balls and the strikes. At first base was Charlie Williams. Had another Williams in there too, Billy. He was at third base, and in between, Randy Marsh at second base. The game was played under pretty good weather. Of course, they had the 2:15 rain delay on Friday. Kind of cool, overcast last night, but no rain. Today, much, much better. Sunny skies and clear. And, well, it can't be sunny and cloudy, can it? But there were no clouds at all up there. 68 degrees for the high, low tonight going down to 40. Bit of a breeze, kind of a stiff wind from the south this afternoon. I don't think it caused any problems for the players. I don't think it did because there were a lot of pop-ups in the game. Soto was serving up a lot of pops, as was the Pirate Corps pitchers. But the wind from the south didn't produce any great problems. Attendance today was 11,990. There seemed to be a little bit of a conflict up in the press box as to what the attendance was going to eventually be. They announced it at 11,000 plus, and then they came back a minute later and said, hold off on that, we got to recount. They came back about 4 seconds later and said that the recount had produced the same results, 11,990, and the announcer's getting a bit of a boot out of that. Because some accounting firm apparently, or maybe that was just a joke, I don't know, Ernst & Winnie or something, they said had confirmed the recount. I didn't know how to take that. I don't know if that was a barb or what, but in any event, they had a little bit of problem with the attendance, but it comes out to almost 12,000. That's not too good. That is the best for this series. 7,000 paid Friday. They had 9,000 paid last night and almost 12,000 paid this afternoon. The Pirates don't win any of the games. Pirates have now lost 3 in a row and 10 of their last 13. They own the league's worst record, but not baseball's worst, because I believe Texas lost today. Let me get this paper here. Yes, the Rangers lost to the White Sox by 4 runs this afternoon. Therefore, the Texas Rangers own baseball's worst record at 10-25. And that's just a half game better than the Pittsburgh Pirates, who had the worst record in the National League, 10-24. That's not even a 300 percentage. They dipped down from 303 today. So I'm surprised at this ball club. I predicted them up in the first division of the East and possibly a dark horse to win the thing should the Cubs and Mets falter. Because of that new outfield that they put in there and Hendrick and Kemp, but really they combined have not done much of anything at all. Those two guys combined for 1 homer and 11 RBIs, Hendrick and Kemp. Also, Lizcano's got 1 homer and I think 3 RBIs and is hitting under 200. I thought they'd play him more often, but not so. Barvell Wynn's getting in there and he's only hitting 188. So none of the guys are doing the job. The Pirates, of course, last year were dead last in the National League East, but incredibly had the league's best ERA for the staff. And that's amazing. The Reds, of course, were next to last, but had a better record, I think, than Pittsburgh. 4.16 ERA for the Reds. That's much better this year. We're up in the 350s now. We're getting that ERA around. The Reds allowed only 4 runs in the 27 innings in this series. And had a string stopped in the 9th inning today of 19 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings pitched. Almost back-to-back shutouts. And if we'd have got the back-to-back shutouts, it'd be the first time that had happened for Reds pitching since way back in 1980. The first 2 games of that season. I remember that well. A 9-0 blanking by Pastore over the Braves on I think a 3-hitter at Riverfront. And then a day later or 2 days later, it was Mike Lacasse pitching a shutout. And then 2 days after that, Charlie Lebrand in his first Major League start pitched a shutout. So we had 3 shutouts in the first 4 games of this decade. And I guess not since then have we had back-to-back whitewash jobs, but almost today. Come very close, within 1 out of getting it. And really a couple of bleeders. They did not hit a ball out of the infield in the 9th inning, and they got a run and left the bases loaded. And that's the way it goes. They kind of look like the Houston Astros in the 9th inning this afternoon. But, of course, Soto had the big lead. There was really no threat of him not going all the way. I don't even think Pete had somebody up in the bullpen when the bases were loaded and the run across the plate. But he came back, and Boda's back, and got Morrison on the strikeout, as you heard earlier, to end the game and give the Reds their 5th straight win, 2nd longest winning streak of the season, at a 7-game gain back in April. Also, 6 wins in the last 7 games for the Cincinnati Clan, and 9 in the last 12 Not bad at all. Birds are now 4 games over 500. Have to look back. I don't think we've been 4 over for a while. Well, Lee Tunnell did it for the Pittsburgh Pirates today. What he did is went out and lost for the 10th consecutive time. Yes, indeed. 5 this year, 5 last year. He's not won since June of '84. I'll have more on that a little bit later. Let's have a look at these lineups. For the Cincinnati Reds to lead it off in center field is Eddie Milner. He'd been a fairly hot hitter. Well, the last couple of days hasn't done much, though. 1 hit, I think, in 9 trips. He's still hit safely in 7 of his last 9 through today. Entering today at .259. No homers. He's knocked in 4 runs. Has tied for the team lead in steals with 7. Actually got his 7th today. Hitting second at first base is player manager Pete Rose, who today managed his 77th Major League game. And he's come out with, he's now surpassed last year's win total, come to think of it, because he won 19 of 41 last year with the ball club. Yes, 19 and 22. And so he's now over 500. I guess he'd be 1 over, quick arithmetic in the head, I guess he's 1 over lifetime on his manager's career. Could be the first time that has happened. He's 19 and 22 last year, now 20 and 16 this season. So he's now won 1 more game as a manager this year than he did last year when he took over in mid-August for Vern Rapp. And as a player, not doing too bad. Hit 365 as a Red last season. This year, hitting .295 with a 4-game hitting streak. Club leading 20 walks. He's also chipped in with 11 game-winning RBIs. I'm sorry. That's 11 RBIs, one of which is a game winner on opening day against the Expos. His first game winner since last season. Actually, since 1983 as a Philadelphia Philly. He doesn't have 11 game winners yet. He's only had 1 in the last a couple of years. But that is 5th on the ball club in RBIs. He's yet to hit a home run. I want to see him crack a homer this year. If he can do that, it'll be his first in 3 years since when he was with the Phillies. So he didn't hit any with Montreal and has hit none as a Red since 1978. He hit 3 in 1 game in '78 as a Red back in April of that year against the New York Mets. He's done a little bit of everything in his career, of course. He's scored runs. He's stolen a few bases. He's hit some homers. He has 1 career grand slam. He had 3 homers in a game. He was the player of the decade. He's been Rookie of the Year. He's been World Series MVP. He's been National League MVP. He's been just about everything. And now he's a player manager and doing a job, too, with his team. .295. And that would rank, my friends, 3rd on the ball club behind Parker and Oster at this time. Hitting 3rd in right field is Dave Parker. You talk about a player that's warm. He just might win himself his 2nd NL Player of the Week award in the last 3 weeks. Scott Garrett's 1-1 in between with the Giants. And Parker, 48 hits at 2nd or 3rd in the league. He enters today's game at .348 on a batting average, including 6 for 8 in this series and 2 homers. Also 10 for his last 18 times up. And that's pushed him into 2nd place in the league in batting, next to Tom Herr, a surprising man up there to lead, with the St. Louis Cardinals. So Herr and Parker running 1 and 2 in the circuit. Dave is also up among league leaders in just about every other offensive category. He leads in doubles, tied with Tony Gwynn. They each picked up one yesterday. 12 doubles for Dave Parker. Also up among league leaders in homers with 7. And also RBIs with 28. Game winners with 3. Total bases with 83 entering today. Slugging average of .601. And also, he has tied for the longest hitting streak in the league this year with 13. He's now just 2 shy of that. He was on a 13-game binge, then was hitless for 2 games, and now was hit safely in 11 more in a row. So that's 24 of his last 26 he's hit in. He's knocked in runs in each of the last 5 games. He's hit homers in 3 of his last 4 games. He's had 24 RBIs in his last 16 games. He's had 25 in his last 17 games. He's had 7 RBIs in his last 5 games. Unbelievable. He has been amazing of late. Oh boy, he hit .455 that week he was Player of the Week, including his first homers of the year. He's hit all 7 of his homers this month, starting with a 9th inning shot at home against the Braves on May 1st, and now he's hit 3 in the last 4 games. If he could have hit one today, it would have been a homer in 4 straight games. But at least he keeps that RBI streak intact. 1 RBI or more in his last 5 ball games. And batting fourth, the catcher, Alan Nicely. He's been in the number 4 spot the last 3 games. Dave Van Gorder's been set down because Nicely's off to a .444 start. 4 RBIs in 2 games, and including a game winner. 4 hits, 3 singles, and a double. So a good start for Nicely, who was tearing up the American Association again this season after winning the Minor League Player of the Year last year at Wichita. Hitting 5th, Cesar Cedeno. He's in left field, and he's trying to battle against this slump here. 2 for his last 22, 246 average, but snapped out of it a little bit with a 2-run double in the 9th inning last night. And that 8-0 win behind Browning. 246 for CC, yet to hit a home run. We need to get him hot and hitting some home runs. Had 10 last year. That was his best since 1980. But none so far this season. I know he had 3 or 4, I think, last year at this point. I'm sure he did. Off to somewhat of a slow start, only with 12 RBIs. He does have 2 game winners. And his only extra base hits are 6 doubles. Batting 6th at third base is Nicky Saski. He's in a 1-for-18 slump, down to 230. With 4 home runs, he's driven in 20, and an RBI in this series with a sac fly. Next is Dave Concepcion at shortstop. He belted a home run. I'll have a highlight on that coming up. That's his first home run in about a month. He's hitting at a 240 pace, and he broke up an 0-for-13 with back-to-back hits his first 2 times up. Coming in with 2 homers and 7 RBIs. Batting 8th at second base is Tom Foley. He's going to be in there for the next few days because... it's going to be either him or Wayne Krenchicki because of an injury sustained last night by Ronnie Oster. So he tried to go from first to third on a sacrifice by Tom Browning. He made a dive into the back door at third base and was called out eventually as he came off the bag. He was actually safe. He had the hand in there. But McSherry, I guess, missed the call. Or whoever it was at third. It wasn't McSherry. Must have been Randy Marsh missing that call. Oster was actually safe. They called him out. And on that play, he re-injured that left shoulder that he originally hurt while making that spectacular diving stab in which he got an out on against the Giants on April the 21st at home. So twice now he's aggravated that shoulder. Or actually injured it the first time and now has re-aggravated it. So he's going to be sent back to Cincinnati tomorrow to be examined by team physician George Ballou. And hopefully he won't miss all of the Chicago series. He might be back in time for Tuesday's ball game because this is Cincinnati not a whole lot. It's not really that far from Chicago, so possibly he'll be back in there Tuesday, but I imagine Foley will definitely earn another start tomorrow with a 3-for-4 day this afternoon to up his average from a puny 111 at game time. He was in an 071 as he entered the final game at Montreal as Buzz jumped that up 101 notches with a total of 5 hits in those succeeding games. I guess 3 games he's had 5 hits. Yes, he has, because, yes, he's had 5 hits in his last... Actually, I guess in his last 2 games. He had a 2-hit game, a triple, a game winner last Thursday in my last game scored, and now 3 hits today. So he's heating up a little bit. Mario Soto, the pitcher, batting 9th, goes all the way, raises his batting average over 200. Started out at 174, including an 0-for-1 as a pinch hitter in there. He's had a walk, has struck out 4 times, has a sacrifice. Got his first RBIs of the year today, including a game winner. As I mentioned, 2 pitchers had game winners in this series. The last 4 games, the game-winning RBI has gone to a player that did not have any at the start of that game. In order, it'd be Foley, Stuper, Nicely, and Soto, all their first of the year, to account for the last 4 on this 5-game winning streak. So some game winners, first of the year for those individuals. 2 pitchers get game winners in the same series. That's kind of strange to see. So there you have the Reds' order. Milner, Rose, Parker, Nicely, Cedeno, Saski, Concepcion, Foley, and Soto. For the Pirates, Marvell Wynn led off in center field. As I mentioned, only 188. He's knocked in 1 whole run. Next is Johnny Ray at second base, hitting .288, 13 RBIs. Bill Madlock at third base, fighting injury last year, coming back to hit only .243 this season. Batting cleanup at first base is Jason Thompson, leading the team in homers and RBIs, 5 and 21, a .252 average. Hitting fifth is newcomer George Hendrick in right field. He was obtained in December last year from the St. Louis Cardinals. As the Pirates got Hendrick in that trade for John Tudor and Brian Harper. And so far hasn't done a whole lot, hitting only .200. Has had just 1 home run and 7 RBIs. I certainly didn't want the same thing to happen to Soto today as it happened May 12th of last year when Hendrick was with the Cardinals. But almost basically the same thing did, and that is Hendrick broke up a shutout and at that point a no-hitter last year for Soto with a 2-out homer in the 9th inning May 12th last season. And today, 3 hits, so he was a thorn in Soto's side again, and he scored their only run, as he did last May in that 1-hitter. And so he single-handedly practically keeps Soto from his shutout. Soto hasn't had a shutout in 2 years now. So Hendrick had that 2-out bleed single in the 9th inning, eventually came around to score on the bases-loaded walk. So you could say Hendrick had a lot to do with breaking up the shutout. So Hendrick needs to get hot. They need his bat warm to make any kind of a run at even 5th place at this point because they're so far back. They're 13 back of the Mets. Mets won today. Next in the order is Steve Kemp, left-handed batting veteran outfielder. Not that much of a veteran, though. Started with the Tigers in 1979, went to the White Sox, then to the Yankees. He was picked up along with Tim Foley during the offseason, and that deal for Dale Berra, along with Jay Buhner and Alfonso Pulido. And the Berras were teamed up, father and son, for just 16 games, though, because, of course, as everyone could practically have guessed, Berra is out after a short period. Steinbrenner can't stay with those managers very long, and Billy Martin back in. He's taken them up in the standings a bit to something like a 6-game winning streak. Of course, Dale Berra, went over to join his father for just a short time with the Yankees. And Steve Kemp comes to the Pirates and hits only .259 to this point. But he was on the disabled list to start the year. He's had no homers, has knocked in just 4. Hitting 7th at shortstop is Tim Foley. They've had several men play that shortstop position early this season. And they've had Billy Allman over there the last couple of days. They've also got Rafael Belliard in addition to Foley. The veteran Foley making his second go-round with the Pirates. He's really been around, only hitting .167. He's had 2 stints with New York, that is the Mets. He's also been with the other New York team, the Yankees. Has played for the Expos, has played for the California Angels. And, well, he started in 1970, so he's a 15-year veteran. He had 1 hit today, infield single in the 9th. Hitting 8th is the catcher Junior Ortiz, only his 3rd game appearance. No RBIs, 2 for 6, a .333 average. This might be his first start of the year. Tony Pena does the bulk of that catching. Hitting 9th is the pitcher Lee Tunnell, 143 average. As far as Tunnell's pitching numbers are concerned, they're not too good. 0-4, 407 earned run average, no complete games in 4 previous starts. But on the other side of the coin, we've got Mario Soto, completing 2 of his first 9 starts with a fine .273 earned run average, although he came in having lost 2 of his last 3 decisions, but comes out of that with a nice complete game win today. It's his first completion since his 4th start of the year, when he had the second of back-to-back complete game wins. He was at that point 3-1 with a 1.13 ERA. It's gone downhill a little bit since then, but still an overall fine year for Mario. Has had really just 2 bad outings among his 10 starts this season. Let me see if I can pinpoint him here. Well, let me just go on and run down his line. You can see what he's done this season as I'll close out side A of this cassette. Soto in his first start had a win, 7 innings, 4 hits, and a run. Outstanding. His next time did just about the same thing. Had a loss, though. Allowed 6 hits, 1 run, in 7 innings. Lost that game on a Gary Carter homer at New York, 1-0, remember? It's one of only 3 losses he has suffered this season. Of course, last year, remember, he got off to a 9-1 start, ended up 18-7, .720 percentage, and a career high in victories. But I think he's on target or ahead, really, of last year in wins. Was also ahead in losses, though. In his 3rd start, he went 9 innings, went the route for his first completion, a 7-hitter, just 1 run. His first 4 games allowed just 1 run each time. Next time, 9 innings, 1 run, 4 hits. He struck out 11 in that game. That's a season's high. Then in his 5th start, he went 8 innings, allowed 6 hits, 3 runs. He walked 4 in that game, struck out 3, but still picked up the win. Another pretty good outing. Then his next time, 8 innings again, allowed just 4 hits and a run and struck out 3. Then his 7th start resulted in somewhat of an off outing. Allowed 7 hits and 6 runs in 5 innings. Also walked 4. That was his 2nd loss. Then his next time, he rebounded with a victory, giving up no runs and got part of a shutout as the relievers came on to rescue him. But he got part of the shutout, though it's not a complete game whitewashing, so you can't count that as his first shutout in 2 years. 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, and he struck out 6. And then his timeout before this one, which was 8 days ago, he missed a start because of that tenderness in his elbow. He said he wanted to go on the 5th day, and Pete Rose had his rotation set up, so he was going to bypass Mario. So he did. Soto not too happy about that, but he's been bypassed today. Came back, no ill effects from the tantrum the other day, and came back with 9 good innings. His last time out, 6 innings, 6 hits, and 6 runs. Actually, 6 innings, 4 hits, 6 runs with a couple of walks. That was his 3rd loss. So really, as you can see, just 2 subpar outings in which he has given up more than 3 runs in a game. Only 3 times he's given up more. Golly, only 3 times in 10 starts it looks like he's given up more than 1 run in a game. Twice he's given up 0. 4 or 5 other times just 1 run each time. gosh, with all that low production, you'd think he'd have a shutout to his credit. Same thing last year. Had lots of near misses in the shutout department. Came away with none. He has not had a whitewashing since September 13, 1983, when he blanked the Atlanta Braves at home 6-0. I think the Reds swept the Braves in that series. Grand slam the next day by Nick Esaski as we beat him. Something like 6-2. So Soto shut out the Braves September 83 for his third shutout of that season. And that year he only won 17. He won one more than that last season. And also led the league in complete games, but still came away with no shutouts. Hopefully he'll get that shutout in the near future. I thought he had it today. And the Pirates are a club he has shut out in the past. Boy, he has their number. Mario has now won 8 of his last 9 decisions against the Pirates going back through the last 4 years. And now we can get on with the contest. Top half of the first inning. This thing was scoreless through 2. The Reds broke it open with 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, and 3 in the ninth. So we did lead it 7-0. Had outscored them at 1.15-0 in the last 2 games. Pirates come back, get a run in the ninth, unfortunately. That puts a little bit of a damper on it, but still, the bottom line is we win by 6. We won it big, and Soto was the star of the game. He wasn't too dejected in the dugout with Mario Soto. He wanted the shutout, but this is not to be. It seems like he's not meant to have a shutout anymore. Got the first 2 outs in the ninth, and then the bases loaded all of a sudden, and they score. But really, it's to no fault, except it falls on Soto's shoulders, walking that man on 4 straight pitches. But I guess I don't blame him for pitching a little bit carefully. Mazzilli has the power to take you deep, and he's been doing a good job as a pinch hitter, hitting way over 300. And he decided to walk him, although not intentionally, but on 4 straight pitches. Then he got a less likely candidate to hit one out, although Morrison has several against the Reds. Jimmy Morrison, he got him on strikes to win the game. In the top of the first inning, Milner led off the contest with a fly to right field. That's George Hendrick making that grab. Then you got Pete Rose, and he hit a ground ball to second base, and Dave Parker, a fly ball right field. In the bottom of the first inning, the Pirates go out in order against Mario. Wynn, a line out to left field. Ray hit a ground ball to shortstop, and Madlock hit a lazy fly to center fielder Milner. In the top of the second, we're out in order again, so Lee Tunnell had 6 outs in the first 6 batters. But then things kind of caved in as 5 of the next 6 men get on, and we score 2 in the next inning. Nicely had a fair pop-up to first base. Cedeno called out on strikes. Still trying to shake that slump. He didn't get the ball out of the infield today. It's a pop-up, a ground ball, and 2 Ks. Esaski popped one up to second base. A lot of pops in the game, as I mentioned. No runs, no hits. In the bottom of the second, the Reds are in some trouble here as the Pirates threaten with 1 out. Back-to-back singles to right field off the bats of their 2 new outfielders, George Hendrick and Steve Kemp. Both former American Leaguers. Hendrick has been around. Used to be with the Indians, also San Diego Padres, and of course he played against the Reds in the 1972 World Series. And Kemp, of course, with the New York Yankees, White Sox, and Tigers, as he's in the National League for the first time. Thompson struck out swinging on a check swing that was actually a foul tip to the mid of the catcher nicely. John McSherry waving those hands saying that he fouled it. Thompson didn't much like the call, but anyway, it's a strikeout. That's the first of the game for Sutz, and that is his 51st of the year. That's one of the league-leading totals. Then Hendrick had a single to right. Cutting that ball off nicely was Parker to hold the man to a single. Then Kemp had a single that way. He pulled it, and then Foley hit into a force play. This is Tim Foley, not to be confused with the Reds infielder. Also has the same uniform, number 10, Tom Foley. But they spell their names differently. Playing different positions today. As Tim hit a ground ball to third, Esaski made the pickup and tagged the runner Hendrick going by. They still have him at first and second with 2 down. No double play there. This is the first game in a while that we have not turned a twin killing. No double plays in the game. The Reds have turned 7 double plays. Well, in the previous 3 games before today. 1, 3, and then 3 again. That's something that Pete Rose is very pleased with, as the Reds are second in the league in double plays. We were next to last season with only 116 twin killings. We've got 41 so far this year. But this results in just 1 out, and then Ortiz goes down swinging against Soto. And that is the inning. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. Now we get to the top half of the third inning. Mario plays a big part in the scoring. He knocks in 2 of our runs in the game and gets the game-winning RBI here. Well, listen in as the Reds score a pair. Joe Nuxall calls this action from Three Rivers Stadium.
Foley hits one into left field. That's a base hit, and Davey might make third. He makes a turn. Kemp's throw will be cut off by Foley. Throw to second, not in time. So some good base running by both Dave Concepcion and Tom Foley. And they have him at second and third and nobody out, and Soto the batter. A ball more toward left center. Kemp over to cut it off, and Davey seeing it all the way running to third. His throw cut off. Kemp's throw by Tom Foley. He threw to Johnny Ray, but or I should say Tim Foley, threw to second to Johnny Ray, but Tom Foley was in ahead of the throw. Too many Foleys running around here. All right, here's Mario, and the Pirates are back. Swing, and that's a base hit to center field. One run will score. Let's see if they try to score Foley. Nope, they're going to hold him right there at third. Well, Tom had to hold up to make sure the ball went through, so 3 straight base hits here in the inning on 4 pitches, and the Reds lead it 1-0. And Tunnel ready with a payoff. And here it is, and that's ball 4 outside. Another run scores. 29 RBIs for Parker. The bases remain loaded, and Al Nicely the batter.
So we got an RBI single from pitcher Mario Soto and a later bases-filled walk to right fielder Dave Parker after he was behind 0-2. Good piece of hitting as he fouled off a few, ran the count full, and took ball 4 from Tunnel as he walked down to first and got an RBI the easy way. He continues that RBI string, at least 1 in 5 straight games. 29 RBIs for Parker. That leads the team by 9 now, and is second or third or fourth in the National League. He's really trailing Dale Murphy by only, I think, 5 RBIs right now. And Parker's had 24 RBIs and 7 homers in the month of May. He's a candidate for NL Player of the Month here in May. He's already had a Player of the Week honor, and maybe another one of those coming up. And being named tomorrow, you never know. With 3 homers during the week and hitting safely in every game during the week, he might be Player of the Week again. At least he'll be considered, I'm sure. To start off this inning was Dave Concepcion. On the first pitch, he rammed a single to right field, and that stopped an 0-for-13 streak. And then Foley had a single into left center field. Davey making third. The throw to third not in time. Throw back to second to try to get Tom Foley from Tim Foley was not in time. So good base running. A single to third on the play is Concepcion, and a second on the throw is Foley. And then Soto on the very next pitch rammed a single into center field. That gives him his first RBI of the year and an eventual game-winning ribby. So 3 straight hits after the first 6 were retired. So Tunnel had thrown 4 pitches in the inning and had given up 3 singles. Then Milner struck out swinging. Rose drew a base on balls to load him up. And then Parker on the 3-2 walked to force in the run and give the Reds the 2-0 lead. Then Alan Nicely struck out swinging, and Cedeno hit a pop-up to shortstop. So the 4 and 5 hitters didn't get the job done with the bases loaded 1 out. Good job by Tunnel after that. But we got 2 runs on 3 base hits. Couple of walks didn't hurt. No errors and 3 left. And now let's move on to the bottom half of the 3rd inning. Soto is staked to a 2-run lead, and we hope that the same thing... Well, I was hoping at this point that the same thing doesn't happen today as it did 8 days ago, a week ago Saturday in his last start, when he blew a 5-0 lead. And, well, the Reds have only lost 1 game since then. The Reds led that ball game 5-0 last Saturday against the Houston Astros. Astros were hitting a lot of home runs against us in that series. Eventually, that was a 10-7 final, Houston winning. Actually, we have lost a couple games since then, because the Astros beat us the next day 10-5, and the Phillies won Game 2 and close out to the homestand 7-1. But it looked like, with a 5-0 lead and the ace of the pitching staff out there pitching the way he had during the season, with a .210 earned run average entering that start, it looked like it was in the bag. But not so. That's what happens in the game of baseball. Things can turn around very quickly. And in this ball game, he has an 8-0 lead, and there's no way he's going to blow that in the 9th inning, and he doesn't. He just gives up 1. I should say 7-0. It was 8-0 yesterday. But with a 7-0 advantage, it was, and with 2 out in the 9th, it looked like a pretty sure thing. And it was after they scored 1. Now in the 3rd inning, there's a 2-out base runner here. Johnny Ray gets into scoring position. They didn't have very many people in scoring position up until that 9th inning. In fact, the only other time except the 9th that they had more than 1 man on base was when they strung 2 straight hits in the 2nd inning against for Hendrick and Kemp with 1 out, but then 2 straight outs to leave them stranded. In the 3rd, Soto got Tunnel on a ground ball weakly hit to shortstop. Good play by Concepcion. They just got the out. Wynn had a ground ball to second. Ray had a single into right field. He then stole a base. That's just his 2nd steal of the year. But he's left there as Bill Madlock hits a pop-up to Tom Foley at second. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. We go to the top half of the 4th inning. The Reds get a couple runs here with nobody out. First batter up is Nick Osaski, and he's followed by Dave Concepcion. They both come around to score.
Powell the stretch. He delivers. Swung on, hit well to left field. Going back, Kemp. He's to the warning track. He looks up, and it's number 3 for Davy. So he got all of that one. Dave Concepcion, his 3rd home run of the year, and it's a 4-0 ball game.
Number 3 on the 0-1 pitch. Number 3 on the 0-1 pitch.
Well, we talk about Davy, and by golly, he's got it together this afternoon. He's 2 for 2, 2 RBIs, and has scored 2 runs. The Reds lead it 4-0, and Tom Foley the batter.
Well, that's a pretty good way to break out of an 0 for 13 dry spell with back-to-back base hits, a couple of runs scored, 2 RBIs, as Joe Nuxhall just said, a single on the first pitch in the third, and on the second pitch here, an 0-1 delivery, yanks one out to left field. His first home run since April the 26th when he hit one at San Francisco's Candlestick Park. And his first of the year came just 2 days before that, April 24 at Houston. So he has yet to hit a Riverfront Stadium homer. He's had one at Houston, one at Frisco, and now one at Pittsburgh. A 2-run home run with nobody out here in the 4th inning to left field for Davy's 3rd homer of the year. Gives him 9 runs batted in and gives the Reds a 4-0 lead. And that gives us 4 runs and 5 hits in the last inning plus. So that's a good start and a good lead for Mario to work with. And then on the very next pitch, Tom Foley hit a fly ball to right field. Soto then grounded out to shortstop. Milner drew a walk on 4 straight pitches and then stole a base. He's been stealing quite a few of late. He has something like 4 of the last 6 Red steals, I would say. He's now projected himself into a first-place tie with Eric Davis. 7 stolen bases for Davis in 8 attempts. He's only had 1 attempt in the last couple of weeks because his playing time has been limited because of Milner's activities out there in center. Milner's now 7 out of 10. The Reds are later to be caught stealing twice, both of those Dave Parker. So it's 1 for 3 in steals on the day. They're now 33 of 47 on the year. That's 70% successful, not too bad. Only 14 times caught. Although we don't have anybody nearly double figures yet, but still are up there with 33 steals, but not nearly as many as the 70 some that the Cardinals have. 65 to 70, with Vince Coleman having about 25 by himself. We'll see those Cardinals next weekend at Riverfront Stadium for the first time. With that Vince Coleman in uniform, probably. Hopefully we can keep him off those paths. And let's see, where am I? I'm on a stolen base by Milner. He's in scoring position with 2 out for Pete Rose. And Pete hits a line drive right at third baseman Billy Madlock. So in the 4th, we get 2 runs, 2 hits, no errors, another walk in there. So rough 2 innings there for Tunnel. 1 man left on. In the bottom of the 4th inning, Mario holds the Pirates in check again as he gets them in order for the second time. Thompson hit a foul pop to the catcher. Hendrick on a 3-2 pitch grounded out to shortstop. And he had been ahead 3-0. Eventually grounded out on a payoff. And then Kemp went down swinging against Mario. This is the first time Kemp has ever faced Mario Soto. His first time up against him ever. He had a base hit, but the next 2 times he struck out. Then drew a walk in that 9th inning. No runs, no hits, no one is left on. In the top half of the 5th inning against Tunnel, his final inning, he serves up a single to Dave Parker. That is significant because it means he has had at least 1 base hit in each of his last 11 games. That's the 2nd longest hitting streak by a Red this season. They both belong to Parker, 13 and now 11, coming within a 26-game span. As his 49th hit of the year, coming in his 140th at-bat. That makes for a good average of about 350. Ends up the day at 3.475. Actually, that's 3.48 on a roundup, exactly where he started the game at. So another hit for Parker. It goes into left center field the wrong way on a 3-2 pitch. So he was 1 for 2 with a walk and an RBI at this point, doing it once again. He was 3 for 3 in yesterday's game, 3 for 5 the day before that, and it hit homers in the first 2 games of the series. This time, they kind of hold him in check, although he's on base 3 times in 5 trips with 2 walks in this single. But he's later caught stealing after a first pitch foul pop to the second baseman hit by Nicely. They actually pick him off here. Tunnel throws over and they nail Parker, and he made the run for second base and did not make it. So he's out 1-3-6 on the steal attempt. And he's also out on a straight steal, as you would say, in the 7th inning. So he's caught stealing both varieties in the game. Cedeno, a ground ball shortstop, ends this inning. No runs, 1 hit, none left on. So a pretty good inning for Tunnel to end out things after a rough 3rd and 4th. In the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, no runs, 1 hit. If you take out the 3rd and 4th, he pitched 3 shutout innings. But then he had to pitch those middle innings in which he gave up 5 hits and all 4 runs. And walked a bunch of people. He walked all 3 men in those innings and won a couple back-to-back to cost him a run. We're going now to the bottom half of the 5th inning. And this game is moving along at a pretty good clip. That 9th inning took some time, though. It was barely 2 hours old in the 8th inning. Ended up being 2:20. In the bottom of the 5th inning, there was a 2-out walk to a pinch hitter. It was the first walk that Soates allowed. Then he walked a couple of people in the 9th inning. Foley led off the 5th with a pop-up to short. Ortiz grounded out to second base, and then Froebel hitting for Tuttle. Left-handed hitting reserve outfielder first baseman, who's a sometime starter. He walked on a 3-2 pitch and was left on when Wynn hit a fly ball to left fielder Cesar Cedeno. No runs, no hits, and one man left on. In the top half of the 6th inning, the Reds get a hit against a new pitcher, Cecilio Guante, who's making his 3rd appearance in as many days in the series. We got a 2-out double off of the first baseman's glove hit by Tom Foley. That was after Esaski popped up to short on the first pitch. Concepcion grounded out to shortstop. Then Foley had his first double of the year and his 2nd hit of the game. Went into shallow right field after it was tipped by Thompson on a backhand attempt. So Foley's been hot of late. Soto struck out swinging. No runs, 1 hit. We left a man at second. In the bottom of the 6th, Soto got him out in order again for the 3rd time. Ray, a foul pop to third. Madlock hit a line drive to left field. Thompson popped one up to shortstop. So nothing across there. In the top of the 7th, this is against Guante, who did a good job in long relief here. Another 2-out base runner. This is a walk to Dave Parker. They pitch carefully to him anymore, though this is his 3rd straight 3-2 count. He had walked on 2 of them and had a single on the other one. And the 2 times he didn't go 3-2, he flied out. The 7th inning started off with an Eddie Milner ground ball to first. Pete Rose lifted one to left field. That was cut by Kemp. And then Parker walked and is caught stealing with Nicely at the plate on the first pitch to Nicely. Parker's going and he's nailed at second base. And it wasn't Pena back there. Pena's got 16 of 32 base runners this year. That's 50%. And Ortiz, 2 for 3 today. See, well, that's not true. 1 for 2 because he didn't even get a chance to touch the ball on that first caught stealing because the pitcher picked him off, so you don't give him credit for it. But he does nail a man here. Parker's caught stealing 2 to 4. He's now 3 out of 8 in steals. Last year, he was caught 10 times and stole 11 bases for the Reds. And so far this year, he's been caught already 5 times in 8 tries. So in the 7th inning, no runs, no hits, no one is left on. In the bottom of the 7th, Soto gives up a leadoff hit to his old nemesis, George Hendrick. Seems to hit him pretty well. Half of their hits were off this guy's bat. Hendrick had 3 hits. This is a single off of the second baseman's glove and into shallow right field. Then Kemp looked at strike 3. Foley hit a fly ball to shallow right, caught by Parker. Ortiz on a check swing nubbed one back to Soto and he threw him out. No runs, a hit, they left 1. In the top of the 8th inning, back-to-back strikeouts and again a 2-out base runner. So all 3 innings of Guante worked. He got the first 2 outs, but then gave up a base runner. Double to Foley in the 6th, walked to Parker in the 7th, and this time a walk to Esaski after strikeout swinging of Nicely and Cedeno in the 8th. But Esaski's forced out on a Dave Concepcion ground ball 6-4 to win this 8th. No runs, no hits, and 1 left on. Now we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning. To lead it off is a pinch hitter for the pitcher Guante. Lefty swinging Joe Orsulak, a young outfielder. They got a lot of outfielders on that team. To back up the likes of their starting outfield today, Wynn, Kemp, and Hendrick, which is their normal outfield. They got such bodies as Lee Mazzilli, Doug Froebel, Sixto Lezcano, and Joe Orsulak. And Jimmy Morrison could probably play the outfield if they told him to. And so that's a lot of outfielders. Jason Thompson has also, I think, played in the outfield before. But Orsulak comes off the bench. He's been doing a good job as a pinch hitter, 3 for 3, but this time he's out on a strikeout swinging. Then Marvell Wynn had a pop-up to shortstop, so he was out 4 straight times. The top 2 in the order, the 2 speedy guys they need to get on, Wynn and Ray, combined on a 1 for 8 today. And, well, no strikeouts in there. Wynn had a line drive, a fly ball, a ground ball, and now a pop-up. Ray had a fly ball to right field to end this inning. No runs, no hits. And now we go to the Reds' 9th inning, and it's a pretty big 9th frame, as have a single, a triple, a home run in this 9th inning to produce 3 runs against their 3rd pitcher, lefty John Candelaria. Now, Candyman had allowed just 3 runs coming into the ball game, and he allows 3 in this inning alone. Now let's listen in with Marty Brenneman off of the Reds Radio Network.
Soto and Billy Madlock gesturing, talking to each other. Soto in the box and Madlock at third. He's creeping in now as Soto swings away and lines one down the right field line. Here comes Foley around second. Soto heading to second base. Foley being waved around. Soto hits second full bore. Heading to third. Here's a throw. Not in time. He triples on a slug bunt. And Cincinnati leads it 5-0. Yeah. He shortened up to bunt, then dropped his hands back down and hit a rope down the right field line for 3 bases and his second RBI. So Mr. Soto doing it all today as he is now 2 for 4 on the day, 2 runs batted in. Reds got 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, and they have picked up 1 here in the 9th inning. Davis trying to get Soto home from third. And a drive. You can forget that. He got every bit of it to left field, a home run. Off of a 2-2 pitch, and I'm telling you, he tied into that one. Eric gets his 5th home run of the season. The Reds lead 7-0. Despite a very disappointing year for this young man, and of course he has just flat had his position taken away from him by Eddie Milner after Davis opened the year as a regular center fielder. He never hits a cheap home run. When he hits one, they are no doubters. And that was his 5th of the year. It brings up Parker.
So that's how we got 3 in the 9th inning today against John Candelaria. Had his run count doubled on him. Came into the ball game with a very nice earned run average of 1.69 on the season. And that does indeed take a beating as he goes over the 3 mark. Had allowed just 3 runs in his first 16 innings, but now gives up 3 in 1 inning this afternoon. As manager Chuck Tanner wanted to give Candy some work in, and I think it's probably only a matter of time until this guy is traded, Candelaria, because they've already got Scurry and Al Holland as left-handers in that bullpen, and Holland is a fine short man. Just a couple of years ago was the relief man of the year for the Philadelphia Phillies. Of course, they recently picked up Holland for in the deal for Kent DeColvey from the Phillies. And why in the world would they want to trade a right-hander stopper in the bullpen to get another lefty, especially when Candelaria already tops the team in saves? But I think it's probably only a matter of time until somebody is gone out of that Pirate pen. And this wasn't a very good outing for Candelaria. Out of the first 4 batters he faced, gave up a single, triple, and a homer. Then he got the final 2. Dave Parker hit a deep drive to center. Was caught by Wynn near the warning track, and then nicely struck out swinging for the 3rd time in his last 4 trips. He was 0 for 5 on the day. So they did cool him down after having 4 hits and as many runs batted in the first 2 games of the series. To start off the 9th was Tom Foley. He got his 3rd hit, a single into left field. Then on the first pitch, Soto, as I played, looked like he was going to bunt. Instead, faked it, and then rifled a triple on the right field line. It might be his first Major League 3-base hit. It's his first of this season. It's a 9th triple for the Reds this year. We've had several lately. Parker, Rose, Foley, Soto have all had triples in the last week. So Soto gets another RBI, his 2nd hit of the game. That gives him 2 RBIs for the game and for the season. Again, he swings at the first pitch, like in the 3rd when he got the game winner. Milner then grounded out 6-3, and Soto held at 3rd. But then everybody came around, Soto and Davis, on Eric's home run deep to left field. No doubt about it, as you heard Marty Brenneman say. Another no-doubter for Mr. Davis. That's his first home run since the 1st of this month, so it had been 18 days since he last swatted one. Of course, he hasn't played a whole lot in between. 38% of his hits this year have been homers. He's only had 4 singles this year. All his other hits have been extra base hits, 2 doubles, 2 triples, and now 5 home runs on the season. He's 2nd on the club, just 2 behind Parker. That gives him 2 RBIs, his 8th and 9th on the season. So he made the most of 1 at-bat in this game, coming in late for Rose, batting 2nd, and they moved Cedeno in to play first base late in the game. And Davis rips Candelaria for a homer. Interestingly, that's the first homer the Candyman has allowed this season. Had been pitching, as I mentioned, outstanding ball through a dozen games. This obviously is worst outing of the season. And I guess he's better under pressure, as the 5 saves in 12 games would indicate. He's 4th in the league in saves. Ahead of him is Ted Power of the Reds with 7. So Davis, home run left field. So we have 2 homers on the game. That gives us 23 for the year. The Reds have been popping the long balls of late. The Reds have hit 20 home runs in their last 22 games, had 3 is all in their first 14 games of the season. Dave Parker is still at 4 of the last 7, but didn't have any today. And then the last 2 men go out Parker and nicely, but we got 3 big runs, 3 hits, thanks to Soto and Davis. No errors, nobody left. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Soto ran into problems, but after the first 2 popped up, Madlock had a foul pop to the catcher, Thompson popped up on the first pitch to third, and then Hendrick had that dribbler towards short. Concepcion playing deep had to come in. He held on to the baseball. It's an infield hit. 3rd hit for Hendrick. Then Kemp walks, and then Foley hits one up the middle. Soto almost was able to field it, but of course he's falling off the mound with the pitch. It goes by him, and the gap is finally plugged by Foley. He stops it, but he can't get anybody out. Nobody scores at this point, so the shutout's still alive, thanks to the play behind second base, but it's an infield hit for Foley. The bases are now loaded, although a ball has not left the infield. 2 down for pinch hitter Lee Mazzilli, lefty swinging former Ranger, Yankee, and New York Met, batting for Junior Ortiz. He takes 4 balls, doesn't take the bat off the shoulder, and gets an RBI. 4 straight pitches out of the strike zone, Mario's 2nd walk of the inning, and there goes the shutout down the tubes. 7-1 at this point. Cincinnati leading. And then the game was over as pinch hitter Jimmy Morrison, batting for Candelaria, went down swinging. Their pinch hitters today were 0 for 2 with 2 walks and an RBI, 2 strikeouts. So 4 pinch hitters used by Tanner, Mazzilli, Frobel, Orsulak, and Morrison. And Morrison strikes out swinging for Mario's 6th of the game, his 56th of the year. He leads the team. He gets his 3rd complete game of the season, his 6th victory. This one belongs to the Reds. And the Reds sweep the series. 1 run, 2 hits, no errors, 3 left in the 9th for Pittsburgh. Reds win it 7-1. By the way, it's the first time the Reds have swept the Pittsburgh Pirates at Three Rivers Stadium since May of 1981. And that was in the midst of an 8-game winning streak for the Reds, May 16, 17, 18. I should say May 15, 16, 17. Back 4 years ago, they swept them 3 at Three Rivers. The Reds did sweep him one time last year, a brief 2-game set, May 29-30 of 84, but not since 81 has the Reds taken even a 2-game series from the Pittsburgh Pirates. First sweep at Three Rivers in 4 years, almost exactly 4 years. Reds play a lot of May games against the Bucks, and then don't see them again until about August or September. That's the way it works against the East because we've only got 4 series against that team. So there you had the particulars on the ball game. Reds ripping a couple of home runs, had a double, a triple today. Slugging average goes up, batting average goes up a point to 248. Reds have 296 hits. The Reds now averaging a very nice 4.28 runs per game. The Reds have outscored their opposition 154 to 138. They've out-hit them at 296 to 277. Reds team earned run average fell to 3.54 today. And it's about 1.5 for this road trip. The Reds now have 20 wins, 7 complete games, 3 shutouts, and 9 saves, and back-to-back complete games by Browning and Soto. A fine series this was. Let's go to the final data. For the Reds, they used only 1 over minimum, that is 10 players, 1 pitcher. 36 games for the Reds, they've now won 20, lost 16. 6 wins in the last 7 games, a .556 winning percentage on the year. Just a game back in the West. Number 20, Eddie Milner in center field. He had a hitless day. He walked one time but was 0 for 4. His average dips to 247. He's had 22 hits. Pete Rose at first base, number 14, was 0 for 3 with a walk. He's now at 287. He's hit in 4 of his last 5 games, had that streak stopped at 4. He's had 31 hits on the year, 4.128 lifetime. Also in the number 2 slot, Eric Davis in left field, number 44. A hit, an at-bat, a run, and 2 RBIs. Of course, that's with the homer. He raises his average to 175. I should say 178 for Davis. He's 13 for 73, and 5 of those 13 hits have left NL Parks. He's had 34 total bases on just 13 hits, and that gives him a .466 slugging average, and that's, that's second on the ball club. Yeah, behind Dave Parker, who slipped under 600 today. Batting third is Parker, the right fielder, number 39. He had 1 hit and 3 at-bats. He walked twice. He knocked in another run. 25 ribbies in 17 games. Parker now hitting .348, 49 for 141 with an 11-game hitting streak. He went 7 for 11 in this series with 2 homers, and he's got 11 hits in his last 21 times up. Not bad at all for the former Pirate in his second year with the Reds. He'll be with the Reds through at least 1988. Alan Nicely, the catcher, number 34. First time I penciled him in since last September. He was 0 for 5 today and struck out 3 times. He's still hitting .286 with 4 RBIs and 3 starts. He's 4 for 14. And next in the order is Cesar Cedeno, left field first base. He's number 28. He was hitless today in 4 trips. He's only 2 for his last 26. He's down to .237 on the season. Nicky Saski at third base, down to the number 6 position. He's number 12. He had 1 hit in 3 trips, and he scored once. He's batting only .233. He's in a 2 for 21 dry spell. 27 hits for him and a .397 slugging. Dave Concepcion at shortstop, wears number 13. He had a good day. In fact, the bottom part of the order did a lot better than the top part. The Reds had 10 hits today, and 7 of those base hits make that... Yes, 7 of those hits belong to the 7, 8, and 9 hitters, and they scored 5 of the runs and knocked in 4. Concepcion 2 for 4. He scored 2, knocked in 2. Tom Foley, second base number 10, was 3 for 4. He scored twice, and Mario Soto, number 36, was 2 for 4. He scored once and knocked in 2. So good production from the 7, 8, 9 hitters, whereas the 1, 2, and 3 batters, well, they combined for 3 RBIs and 2 base hits. The middle part of the order, 4, 5, and 6, went 1 for 12 is all, with 1 run scored between Nicely, Cedeno, and Esaski, which you would think would really be the meat of this particular order. But really not so today. Concepcion, Foley, and Soto were the muscle. And Concepcion is now batting .248, up 8 points. He's had 31 hits, exactly the same as Oster and Rose for the year. A lot of players with 31. And we've got Tom Foley raising his average to 175. He's 7 for 40 now. And Mario Soto is batting .222. He had .209 last year. And in fact, he's got a 3-game hitting streak in games in which he has started. He's actually hitting 3 of 4 games with 1 pinch hit assignment also in there, in which he bunted out, trying for a sacrifice. 6 for 27 for Mario in 11 appearances with a walk and 5 strikeouts. Here's Soto's pitching line as he goes to 6 and 3. He allowed 6 hits and 1 run earned in 9 whole innings. He walked 3 and struck out 6, 2 of the walks coming in the 9th inning. And another thing on Soto, he'd been doing a job up until giving up 4 straight base runners. He got 4 straight base runners after 2 were out in the 9th inning. Previous to the infield hit by Hendrick in the 9th, he had retired 8 in a row and 18 of the previous 20 batters. But then 4 straight get on, a couple of infield singles and 2 walks, and then the strikeout to end it. So Soto has a pretty good line once again. His season's ERA is now 2.52 for 10 starts. Now it's 3 complete games to lead the team. He's back in first place in wins ahead of Stuper. 6 and 3, 2.52 for Mario. His ERA goes down 21 notches. He's allowed just 52 hits in 75 innings. Again, has that great ratio of hits to innings. It's now about 6 1/4. That's outstanding. He's only allowed 5 homers. That's down from previous years. Has been involved in 1 shutout, not all his own. And has given up 21 runs, and the Reds have played good defense behind him because none of the runs are unearned. He's walked 29 and has struck out 56 this season. Now, as far as Soto against the Pirates, we could go on and on about this, and I plan to. Soto against Pitt has been phenomenal. I think he's got the best record of any pitcher in the league against the Pirates. A 1.92 ERA. That's going to go down again against the Pirates' lifetime. He's 11 and 3, including 8 and 1 in his last 9 decisions, dating back to a loss in part of a doubleheader on May 7th, 1981. After that, he's won 8 of his last 9 decisions against the Pirates, including every one of them at Three Rivers. In fact, he's 8 and 0 in his career at Pittsburgh. That's probably has got to be the best in the National League. He was only 1 and 0 against the Pirates last year, but he only pitched against them 1 time and did go all the way, allowing 3 runs and a 5-3 Reds win last May the 22nd. So he only pitched in 1 of the 6 series against the Pirates last season. So 1 and 0 this year against them, 1 0 last year, 11 and 3 lifetime, and he was 3 and 1 against them in 1983 against them. So he had a 6-game winning streak, and then lost, and now has won 2 in a row again against Pittsburgh. I think he's had 7 or maybe 8 complete games against the Pirates in that streak of 8 wins and 9 games against them. 11 and 3, well over a 700 winning percentage against the Bucks in his career. He lost to him in August of '83 And before that, he did not lose to him again since May of '81. Let's go to the Pittsburgh Pirates' offensive numbers here. They used a total of 15 players, including 3 pitchers, in this, their 34th game of the year. They're now 14 under and 13 games back and dead last in the East. Worst record in the NL at 10-24. That's only a .294 winning percentage. So Chuck Tanner has got to be a little bit glum right now with a 3-game losing streak. Number 36, Marvell Wynn in center field was 0 for 4. Batting second at second base is Johnny Ray. He's number 3. The former Astro is 1 for 4. Hitting third at third base, Bill Madlock. He's the 4-time NL batting champion. He won a couple of batting titles with the Pirates as well as 2 with Chicago. Only hitting .243 to this point. It's going to go down again. He was 0 for 4. The top part of the order was only 1 for 12. The middle part collected 4 hits. Thompson, Hendrick, and Kemp is the meat of the order. They won a total of 4 for 11. Thompson, number 30 at first base, 0 for 4. George Hendrick, he's number 15 in right field. He was 3 for 4, and he scored the run. Next is number 13, Steve Kemp, the left fielder. He was 1 for 3, walked 1 time. Number 10, Tim Foley at shortstop, was 1 for 4. Number 26, Junior Ortiz, the catcher, his second go-round with the Bucks. And he was 0 for 3. Number 16, Lee Mazzilli, pinch hit. He walked, had an RBI. Number 22, Lee Tunnell, Tunnell. He was 0 for 1. And then we've got Doug Frobel, pinch hit, number 51. He walked 1 time. Number 47, Cecilio Guante, pitcher. Number 11, Joe Orsulak, pinch hit, 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Number 45, John Candelaria, pitcher. And number 2, Jim Morrison, pinch hit, former Philly and White Soxer. He was 0 for 1 with 1 K. The Pittsburgh Pirates had 6 hits in 33 at-bats. They scored a run, had 1 RBI with no errors. It was a clean game of field. The Reds made no errors. And it is the 6th time in the last 7 games that the Reds have played errorless baseball. That comes on the heels of 6 errors in the previous 2 games. It's only 1 miscue in the last 7, and that was by Parker last night when he fumbled a base hit. The Reds had 35 at-bats today, 7 runs, 10 hits, 7 runs batted in. Pitching lines for the Pirate Hurlers. Lee Tunnell went 5 innings. Not a very good outing. He's 0-5. He's now 1-1 in his career against the Reds. The loss coming this year, the win back in 1983. He went 5 innings today. He allowed 6 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 1 homer. He walked 3 and struck out 3. Guante, 3 good innings. 1 hit, no runs. He walked 2 and struck out 3 batters. And then Candelaria pitched the 9th. He allowed 3 runs, all earned, 3 hits, including a homer. No walks. He struck out a batter. I got some numbers on these people, starting with the relievers. Guante, no record. He's got some other good numbers. A .248 earned run average. He's allowed 23 hits and only 8 walks in 29 innings. 8 runs, all earned. He has struck out 27. That's 8.4 per 9 innings. He's been in 16 games, all in relief, has allowed 2 homers. Candelaria, he's 1-3 with 5 saves and now a .318 earned run average in 13 appearances, I think all in relief, because he's only pitched 17 innings. He's allowed now 14 hits, only 1 homer, 6 runs, all earned. He's walked only 3 and has struck out 13 batters. As for their starter, Mr. Tunnell, spent all his career in the Pirates organization, coming up to stay at the end of the 1982 season when he got into 5 games. Had a win against the Reds, a 6-4 final at Riverfront, May 26th, 2 years ago. As I say, a lot of Reds and Pirates play a lot of May games. All these stats I'm saying are happening in May. But Tunnell now on the verge of a 10-game losing streak. He's not on the verge of it. He has a 10-game losing streak. 5 last year, 5 this season. He was at 1.1-2 last year, ended up 1-7 with a .527 earned run average. He last won a game on June 2nd, 84 at Pittsburgh against the Expos. Looked up in the old box score book and found out that was a 2-1 final. Steve Rogers, a complete game loss for the Expos in that game. Tunnell went 7 innings in starting, allowed 8 hits and a run with 2 walks and 3 strikeouts. So his last win, June of 84. He's 0-10 since then. Heavens to Betsy. He's from Tyler, Texas, born in October 1960. He's right now 24 years of age. He's 6'1", 180 pounds. On the year, he's been in 6 games, 1 in relief. He finished that relief outing. He has no complete games in 5 starts, has allowed just 2 homers. At winless, 4.60 ERA. He's allowed 29 hits and 29 1/3 innings, 17 runs, 15 of those earned. He's walked 18 and has struck out 15 batters. So that's somewhat of a control problem early this season. The Pirates have sport now a couple of starters who are winless, combined for an 0-11 record. Jose De Leon and Lee Tunnell. Good heavens. And then their other starter that worked in this series, which was yesterday's man, Mike Bielecki. He's only got one win, so that's 5-3, 8. 8-6 is 14. That's 14 losses and one win among the three starters that the Reds faced today, or in this series. In De Leon, Bielecki, and Tunnel. The Pirates have found the wins hard to come by of late. Let's look at more data for this game. Doubles by Foley, triple by Soto, homers by Concepcion and Davis. For Davey, his third, and for Davis, his fifth of the year. Game winner for Soates. That is Mario. Stolen base Milner, stolen base Ray, caught stealing Parker twice, no double plays in the game. Winner Soto 6-3, loser Tunnel 0-5. The Reds had 6-10-0 and left 6. Pirates had a run, 6 hits, no errors, and left 8. Reds now only 32 errors on the year, as I mentioned, only 1 in the last 7 games. And Reds 41 double plays, 7 in the last 4 games. 2.48 team batting average. That's about 5th in the league. Not too good, but none of the league is hitting. ERA of 3.54 is right in the middle of the pack someplace in National League standings. Reds have a pretty good 3.69 slugging average right now, and have scored 154 runs on the season. So a 5-game winning streak for the Reds with this fine victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates 7-1 behind Soto. In 2 hours and 20 minutes it took. My clocking was 2:19. Attendance 11,990. They really messed up yesterday's time. They said it was 2:28. That's what it says in the papers, but I got to tell you, that's not right. It's either 2:31 or 2:32, more likely. It was 2:31:45 when the game ended. I don't know what they did to that, but it was off by about 4 minutes. But we have to go to 2:28 anyway. No sense in slashing the wrist over just 4 minutes of playing time, but I tell you, it's wrong. But today, a little bit shorter. Mario gets them out in a pretty good hurry. The Reds will leave for Chicago this evening and play the Cubs 3-day games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Have an off game on Thursday, then come back home, hopefully, with an 8-game winning streak to face the Cardinals on Friday. Now let's listen in once again to those 2 home runs the Reds hit out of Three Rivers Stadium today.
Hold the stretch. He delivers. Swung on, hit well to left field. Going back, Kemp. He's to the warning track. He looks up, and it's number 3 for Davey. Oh, he got all of that one. Dave Concepcion, his 3rd home run of the year, and it's a 4-0 ball game.
Davis trying to get Soto home from third. And a drive. You can forget that. He got every bit of it to left field, a home run.
So Concepcion and Davis belt home runs today. It was Parker the previous 3 days to hit home runs. This time, someone else gets in on the act. Let's take a look at this day in Reds history, as I'm going to leaf through this very quickly here. It's May 19, and on May 19, back in 1906, everybody remembers this. The Reds beat the Boston Ball Club. I don't know if it was the Boston Bees or the Boston Bivouacs or whatever, 15-0 at Cincinnati. Reds rout Boston. Now, more recently, in 1972, there was a Reds trade. Bernie Carbo, former top rookie for the Reds in 1970, he was traded by the Reds to the Cardinals in the deal for first baseman Joe Haig. And, of course, Haig later that season broke up that 1980 marathon against the Dodgers. Now, also on this date in 1978, the Reds made another deal, sending Dale Murray to the Mets, who's now with the Rangers, I think. That was in a deal for Ken Henderson. On this date last year, the Reds lost 9-1 to the St. Louis Cardinals at St. Louis. Well, I'm going to be wrapping up this broadcast right now with a very brief look at the scoreboard. Not a whole lot of time to take a look at the scores, but in the National League, the Padres beat up on the Montreal Expos 8-3 to remain a game up on the Reds. The Dodgers clipped the Phillies 3-2. Phillies continue to lose. The Mets got by the Giants 3-2, Astros 7, Cardinals 3, and it was Atlanta shutting out the Cubbies 3-0. In the American League, Cleveland got by Boston 2-1, Minnesota pounded Toronto 8-2, Milwaukee in a slugfest outlasted Kansas City 11-10, Chicago 5, Texas 1, it was California 4, and New York 1. Baltimore clipped Seattle 2-1, and it was the Oakland A's 9 and the Detroit Tigers 7. And once again, the final from Pittsburgh this afternoon as the Reds make it 5 in a row, sweep the series. Reds 7, Pirates 1 behind Soto as he gets his 6th win. 2 hours, 20 minutes, 11,990 in the stands. So until next time, I'll say so long. This is DVP reporting.